Hi, Frederic. This is Ahmed from Gaper. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Hi, thank you for having me today.
So, how's it going? I'll jump into it. You are working at Dashlane as CTO for a long period of time, right? So, what do you do? What's your role? How's it like?
At this stage, my role is, let's say, about a big chunk of my time is people management. We have a team of 120 engineers, so obviously that takes time to make sure that you hire the right people, that you manage them and ensure that they can work in the right conditions. And due to the full life cycle of engineers is a big chunk of my time. And then, of course, as all companies, it's important to for the engineering team to operate and to deliver what's required from our business and from our customers. So that's also a big chunk of my time. How do I work and cooperate with the product team, with our stakeholders to ensure we provide the right features and the right value to our customers? And actually, surprisingly, the technical piece these days is a bit of the smallest one. I have, of course, my my engineers and my engineering leaders that are supporting this. So I'm giving more of the technology strategy and the orientation, and then I trust them to deliver and make sure that we make the right choices, especially in a product like ours, which is a security product where you can't go wrong. So it's really important.
So Dashlane is one of the success stories when it comes to a secure product, which has seen the higher side of the market as well, right? You have been there during the COVID when the digital revolution was on the top as well. So how was the journey like, starting from a small team when you joined like back in 2015, if I'm right?
Yeah.
How is journey like last 9 years, taking a very small team, making a bigger product, implementing all the security layers, and learning along the way as well?
Yeah, well, I can tell you it's tough. It's tough with the ups and downs, and there are ups and downs both in terms of how you drive the company and what's your business strategy and who do you target as audiences and so on. As an example, we were coming from the consumer world. So Dashlane was originally a password manager for end users, for consumers. And then in time, we started adding a B2B offer for organization and enterprise and so on. And that became today sort of our main strategy because there's actually more maturity in the B2B market today than there is in the consumer market for us. But that didn't come, of course, with a smooth process. It was a lot of trial and error and getting it right. And I don't know that we have it right yet today, but we're trying at least. So that's one example. Of course, going through COVID, going through the latest economic downturn has been also really challenging. How do you make sure that you hire the right people at the right pace? Not too much, not too little, so that you can support the product. That's as a CTO core to your activity, and it's not easy. So you learn along the way, and you make mistakes, and you fix your mistakes, and hopefully with the rest of the organization and with your partners in the organization, you learn and you get better the next day.
Got it. In how's the transition during the COVID time and post-COVID when it comes to remote teams, right? So are you fully remote? Are you partially remote? How does that work out?
We had a similar path as a lot of other companies. So we were already a distributed company because when the COVID hit, we already had an office in Paris, in France, one in Lisbon, in Portugal, and the other one in the New York area and in the US. So we're already a distributed company. So going through COVID and having everybody remote when there was a lockdown and so on was not that big a deal. And then in the past few years, we've been more or less fully distributed, full remote organization, but with still 3 hubs and 3 offices. And actually, what we decided to do more recently is to go back a bit more in the office. And as you can imagine, that doesn't go always with very smoothly. So we had a bit of drama internally about going back to the office for those who were close to the office. So we're still going through that motion. And I think we'll end up in a place where we need to find the right balance between having a hybrid culture at the end of the day, like having offices which are our hubs where we focus people and we can gather people, while having the flexibility of being able to work remote when we need to. But there's no perfect solution. Like being fully in office or fully remote has its pros and cons. So we're trying to find the right middle, and it's a journey, to your point.
Right. And being a CTO, you have to deal with difficult situations every now and then, right? Be it technology, be it security, and all those different things as well. So what's your highlight? What's been the most difficult part of your journey at Dashlane, if you remember any of those?
Yeah, one actually very timely example is so we have a very important web extension for Dashlane, a Chrome extension, also available in Firefox and Edge and so on. And Google, a few years back, decided to change the architecture of extensions. So they moved from an architecture principle that was called Manifest v2, where you used to have background pages that were persistent and you could run in the background of the browser whenever you wanted to Manifest v3, which is a new architecture where you have service workers, you have ephemeral lifecycle for the extension, and the extension can essentially be killed whenever the browser wants to. And as you can imagine, for a product like Dashlane, that has been a revolution, massive change. So we had to refactor the product. We had to also lobby with Google to make sure that the rules around Manifest v3 were not too painful for us, and we could maintain the same type of user experience. It was a multi-year journey, and we just went to production last week. And those type of release are massive. Like you can't silently roll out because you're essentially changing the architecture behind the extension. It's the switch that needs to be flipped. And then even though you've been in testing and in beta customer testing for many months, you still discover stuff in production that we didn't anticipate. So we're going through those pain points of cleaning up the kinks and tweaking the extension. And that's something we don't have a choice. If you want to operate as a business, you need, of course, to have a product available, whether it's on a mobile application, an extension, or whatever you're using. And you have to play by those rules, play by those ecosystems. And that's a place where, as a CTO, I put a lot of my effort and my attention, because I want to make sure that we have the right conditions in the market to be able to operate the best we can. So that's a very recent example. And if you're curious about Manifest v3, Google it. It's a very interesting change pushed by the Google team, but it's hard for us and for organizations like ours.
Right, absolutely. So you have been managing team in multiple countries, multiple time zones. So how do you deal with it? Are you up 12 hours every day, or do you have a better way of managing team and all that stuff as well?
My goal has been to always have leadership in all the key hubs. So I have leadership in Lisbon, I have leadership in Paris. I'm sort of the engineering leadership in the US. That's the key to make sure that I can't be 24 hours awake, so I need to have relays in the different hubs and in different locations. Then we try to have some form of let's say time zone collocation of teams as best as we can. Make sure that people that are working on the same topic are on the same time zone. It's not always easy. And actually, we in 2023 we decided to reduce the engineering team in the US for that reason, because it was too spread in terms of time zone. And so these days we're really focusing our engineering team more around the Western Europe time zone, France and Portugal that are almost on the same time zone, because it makes things simpler. So time zones are very hard to manage. Of course, you have all the tools to work remotely and async and so on. But at the end of the day, you also need to be able to work on the same time zone, have enough overlap so that you can coordinate and you can collaborate together. So that's what we've been doing recently. So we're essentially hiring in France and Portugal these days to make sure that our engineers, along with our product managers, can have as much time as possible to operate together. We haven't solved for the time zone equation. I think it's going to remain a big challenge for any team that want to operate. So, and I've been chatting with a lot of other CTOs and so on, and they all have the same sort of conclusion. You can be distributed, but it's better if you have like a center of excellence, or you have like a time zone, the notion of time zone collocation, where you have people operating and working together on the same time zone, just to make work more efficient.
Right. Yes, you're right. It's never easy. You can never say it's hard, right? There are always challenges.
Of course.
Right. So I'll jump to the AI part, right? With this Copilot and new Devin coming in and all these new things coming up in 2024, I would say. How do you see that changing the development paradigm when it comes to managing your engineering team or managing their efficiency?
So, of course, we've been testing with Copilot. We've been testing with all the Gen AI models out there, the GPT and the Gemini and so on. We've been testing also with GitLab Suggestion, which is the equivalent of GitHub Copilot. In our case, I'm not sure we found the right way to use it. Like, first, internally in the engineering team, there are people that like using it. There are others that don't like using it. We don't have a consistent approach to it, and it hasn't been a revolution for us, at least. And maybe we haven't found the right way to use it. But in short, our senior people find the best value out of it. because they can assess the outcome of the AI and make sure that it's relevant. It's less of the case with our junior people. So we're still learning, and I think there's still a big learning curve for all engineers to know how to use those tools the right way. And then in terms of using AI for our own products, the main challenge for us is that we don't see any data of our customers. So we don't have a lot of data that we can play with, which is what you need when you want to run LLMs and AI products like this. You need a large amount of data to be able to crunch data and generate interesting outcomes out of those. And we don't have that data. We are what we call a zero-knowledge architecture. So we don't see the data of our customers. Of course, we don't want to see their passwords and their sensitive information. But that means that in our case, we might not be a good use case of the LLM models and the Gen AI type of application. We have, of course, a lot of machine learning running in our product to identify and analyze fields in web pages and so on. But there's a different flavor of AI. So we'll see. We're still prototyping, experimenting, and poking ideas, but it's more R&D at this point for us than a real production application.
Right. So what I hear is that you're spending time and energy to figure out the right balance between the AI and so-called human engineers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can see that there's clearly potential, especially around the productivity of the team, whether, by the way, it's the engineering team or other teams like marketing, seeing a lot of potential out of AI and so on. So that's what we are mostly focused on, learning how to use those tools to the maximum of their potential and their value, and to make us more efficient, to make us more productive and so on. That's the angle we're taking mostly today, versus finding the magic silver bullet that will help us create a totally new product. And hopefully that will come one day, but we also need to manage the hype, let's say.
So I was listening to somebody, and he made a very important, interesting comment. He said that I'm looking forward to the times where 15 people engineering team would come up with product, which previously 200 people team would come up with, right? So he said, I'm waiting for that time, and that's not far. So how do you see those kind of products coming in and beating, I would say, the incumbents on pricing and efficiency?
I mean, there's clearly a productive aspect to it, so we'll see. I'm not sure we're there yet, but it's interesting to see when we will get there. What I feel is going to happen is that it's not going to be like it's going to be a journey, meaning that our existing teams are going to progressively become more efficient. Also, as we learn, as the tools become more efficient, we're going to learn how to use them in the best ways. That's going to allow us to have more output, more outcome, and do more with fewer people. But that's going to be a transition. Like, there's going to be a journey, and maybe in a few years, to your point, we'll be able to do what we used to do with 200 engineers with 15. But that was also the case if you go back like a few decades back. You needed like hundreds and hundreds of engineers to produce a website. And these days, with all the frameworks and the maturity of the web languages and so on, you need way fewer people, and you can have someone that starts building a very dynamic and very complex website with just leveraging the existing framework. So it's a different flavor of technological advancement, but it's still the same line of thought that technology is unlocking new ways of doing things and new productivity aspects.
Got it. Any thoughts, any suggestions for the young startup founders who are coming in 2024? So any suggestions for them that how the world is changing today?
You shouldn't reinvent the wheel. If someone is already providing the way for you to get to your the implementation of your idea in a faster way, then you should definitely use it, whether it's, by the way, AI, or whether it's an existing framework, or for instance, if you want to build something that requires a lot of back office and back end things, there are tools these days that allow you to spin up a back office very easily without having to reinvent the UI and so on. So there are plenty of tools out there, and plenty of organizations that have already come up with solutions to some of the problems we need to solve. So let's reuse them and build on top of it instead of starting from scratch.
Got it. Makes sense. So thank you so much for your time, Frédéric, today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.